Hey yo, what is going on, guys? My name is Jared Myers, and we are back after 2 months of a break, mainly because it's been difficult to get people to do interviews. But we are finally back with a brand new interview. I'm here with my dog Fluffy, and today's interview is gonna be with a guy who, I watched growing up, man. I've listened to the songs, especially back in 2011. Just such funny stuff, man. It's Rucka Rucka Ali, guys. If you don't know who he is, this interview is gonna be really cool, and it's just gonna be fun to be able to see his side and see how the songs come about and just a bunch of different things. And it's really crazy to hear that he had a part to play with KSI becoming what he is today. So if you don't know that, stay tuned for this interview. And if you guys do know who Rucka Rucka Ali is, this is gonna be a fun interview, guys. It's super cool, man, and it's just amazing that I'm in a position right now where I'm able to talk and interview people who I grew up watching and even who I watch today. Like, coming out Wednesday or Thursday is my interview, and this is big, with Jake Paul and Logan Paul's mom. We are just one step closer to interviewing Jake Paul and Logan Paul, and man, it sucks because I feel like I'm so tensed in these interviews. I have a lot of pressure. I don't know why. I'm just talking to people, but man, it's just I don't know, man. My anxiety gets up there. So hopefully for that interview, man, I need that to be like perfect. But man, this interview was definitely really fun. Because it's been a 2-month break, I was really anxious. I was nervous. So you can see how I'm tense up and like I stutter. So yeah. But guys, let's stop talking. Let's jump right into the interview that you guys want to check out. So I will see you guys all Wednesday or Thursday with my interview with Jake and Logan's mom. So I'll see you guys later. Peace. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we got Rucka Rucka Ali on the line. Rucka, how you doing today?
Excited.
That's good. That's good. How have you been doing? What have you been doing in quarantine?
Making music. Same
Really?
shit I was doing before quarantine. Are we allowed to swear? I know TikTok is a bit more of a family-friendly platform to shake your booty on.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. Yeah, it doesn't matter. So speaking of your music career, I have a question. So how did you start getting into cover music, and what inspired you to do that?
I was doing rap, and then I was actually interning at a radio station where my boss said, "Can you do a song parody?" So I did. I started doing those, and YouTube.com, which at the time was like semi-new. I mean, it was pretty new, and it kind of blew up. Thousands of views. I mean, thousands of views in 2008. That was saying something.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, what inspired you with it too? Was there any like rappers that you look up to?
I like Eminem. I don't know, a handful of different rappers and stuff. Have a lot of influences outside of rap. Just like you just kind of go through life collecting a lot of different sort of dialects and like approaches to life. People with the different types of senses of humor that you come across.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
Your name Rucka Rucka Ali. Where did that come from? Like, how did you create that name for you?
It's the sound of a record scratching. Rucka, 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 Ali, Ali, rucka, 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 Ali.
Oh, that's cool. So when you made your music, as you know, some people might get offended to it, some people might not. When you first started doing it, did anyone like look at you like before you did the music? Did anyone of your friends or family get offended by the music that you made, or were they all very supportive with you?
I think the types of people I have been drawn to in my life tend to share my kind of sense of humor. But since that time, everyone grew up.
Yeah.
Everybody grew up. So like literally the same people who kind of brought punk rock to the world, literally the same people who like would indulge in offensive entertainment all through the 2000s and stuff. Literally the people I learned it from are the people going around canceling people now. So I'm pretty much the only one who's still into this. And like, what am I supposed to say? Oh, you did it too. Yeah, we were kids. They grew up.
Yeah, speaking of that, so I've been making videos since 2009. So I remember back in that era, YouTube was so different. It was definitely like it would crack down on people, but like now it's like all different. Like you can't even say one bad word without like them like demonetizing you or any of that. Like, what's your thoughts on that? Because you've been on YouTube for so long. What's your thoughts of how it is now versus how it was back then?
I mean, I was getting deleted back then, so I don't really share the sort of nostalgic view that a lot of people are expressing about the old YouTube. So I was always an outlaw. I was always dealing with adversity on YouTube, and getting demonetized isn't the end of the world. So at least they're letting your video exist. So I think you know, I don't think much about it. I'm just focused on making the content and posting it out.
Does cancel culture ever bother you at all? Like with how people like will literally get canceled over anything. It could be like the smallest thing, and it could be 20 years ago, and people will just dig it. Like people dig up people's past just to bring it up, just to get likes and favorites and all that.
I mean, if people like lose a job today, like an actual job for something from a long time ago, that is messed up. But if you want to be an offensive comedian, but you also want to be in Disney movies, I mean, that's just not going to work out, you know? So a lot of people, they want to do both, and it's just, the world just isn't having it anymore.
Oh yeah, and then so hold on. So out of all your songs that you've made, what was your favorite song that you personally enjoyed? And then what era of your music, like was it from 2008? Was it 2010, 2017? What era of your music do you like enjoy the most when you look back on your career?
Interesting question. What was the first question? I know I heard of the favorite part, but what was the
Your favorite song that you ever made?
Oh, I mean, there's way too many to pick from. I mean, literally, I've done like at least 100, probably 150 different stuff that I put out. So I don't know. History of Philosophy rap is definitely a project that I worked hard on, and I think touched many lives. Go Cops is definitely a classic. I think probably that era, like 2000, like right at the start of 2010 was sort of like the golden era where YouTube was still small enough that I could be one of the biggest people on it. But it was blowing up, and like I was definitely hitting right at the right spots where just like a handful of songs in a row just really blew up. So that was definitely an era. 2014, of course, with Ebola was definitely another sort of wave of viralness, and 2017 was like another little had like a run of really successful hits. So I don't know, it's hard to say like the favorite time, but no, right now I've got like a handful of stuff I just released and that I'm planning on releasing. And I know anytime you talk to anyone in music, they're always like, "Oh yeah, right now my new album, this is what I'm excited about." But it's actually true. Like I've had a good year, 2021. I've had a good writing year. So I got like a bunch of stuff lined up for release. So I would say like right now is my favorite era in a while for myself.
Yeah, that's awesome. Have you ever gone on tour, by the way? Have you ever done that?
Tour?
Yeah.
I mean, would you go on tour if you were me? I'm the first guy that got beat up by his own security team.
Oh, really?
No, not really.
Oh.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I'm like always busy making videos and stuff, you know, and that's, you know, and like the audience that's drawn to this type of content, they're like the type like sitting at home on the internet watching stuff. They're not. It's hard to get them to get out of the house and go buy a ticket and like go to an event. It's the internet is just different, you know. Plus the whole generation, millennials and Zoomers, they're just not known for leaving the house. So I don't know. It is possible, but I just haven't really wanted to do it particularly.
Yeah. Speaking of, since you started making music and you posted on YouTube, and with YouTube music where it is today, what's your thoughts on like the Jake Pauls, the Logan Paul, and KSIs who are also doing music and being really successful with that?
First of all, I created KSI. The first diss track he did was against me, and I have reason to think that whole wave of diss tracks led to the boxing matches. Is that true, do you think?
Yeah, most likely. Yeah. I would probably...
So literally, we wouldn't have Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather today if not for me writing What the Black Says in 2013 and then KSI reacting to it in 2016, leading me to respond to him and then him to diss me and then me to diss him. So, I mean, this all roads lead back to Rucka Rucka. Do I ever get thanked for any of this? Do I get a cut of the action? Does Floyd Mayweather shout me out? Of course not. Nobody cares. But, I mean, the KSI he's very professional, so he deserves a lot of the success. Jake Paul, I actually thought was charming with his like silliness, the silliness of his rap when he first doing it. It's everyday bro, and where was y'all at when I was in the Disney? Where was y'all at? Like it's like stupid. There's definitely a charm to like YouTubers rapping, and it kind of, ironically enough, ended up influencing me to kind of let my guard down a bit and just let my creativity flow a little bit more in a weird way. So So like I'm even more goofy maybe than I was even before because it's like the internet. Everyone's doing it. So but now like Jake Paul has like professional writers and stuff and like ghost writers, whatever, and he's doing I don't make girlfriends, I don't make new friends. By the way, have fun getting content ID claimed for this whole interview with all the shit that I'm singing.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in Jake Paul's music or in KSI's music. I'm happy they're succeeding, but I mean, you can't compare me to anybody else. I'm in this sort of ironic comedy parody space where I'm also really like selling it hard and it appeals to certain people and other people just they don't get it at all. It's even to speak of me in the same sentence as other YouTube people or other rappers or other comedy people is just it's a bit of a stretch. It's a bit of a forced sort of trying to fit puzzle pieces together. I'm just in my own lane.
Yeah, I remember the first songs I heard from you were She Was Only 17, and then the one I know it was all Down. Was that the name of it, called Down?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one, and then the ones about YouTube suspending you and all that. So those are the first songs that I ever heard, and that was like in 2011. I don't know when you made them, but I saw them in 2000.
I remember most of these things, the time and place, because it's like your children. You gave birth to them. You never forget that. So Down was summer of 2009 because the YouTube deleted the video Ching Chang Chong, which back then it got like 100,000 views in one day. I mean, back then it's a lot now even, but back then it was like.
Oh yeah.
I'm finally good at something. You're telling me that like I finally succeeded at life and then YouTube deletes it. So that's that response. YouTube took my #1 video down. It was the perfect way to answer that fact and also draw attention to the fact that this song had existed, so it wouldn't be forgotten.
Where did you create up your characters in your song? Because I know you have like DJ Not Nice. You have there was a few other ones. I forgot the names. Like, where do you come up with those characters and the ideas to put the music together?
I mean, it's more of like a bottom up thing. It's not. I don't come up with the characters and then do it. It's more like, you come up with the accent and the sort of dialect and stereotypes had been around. It's not like I invented stereotypes. Although today, people are going to be telling their kids I invented racial stereotypes because it's like no one else will even go near it. Mostly, I mean, a few comedians are basically, but like they think they're funny. Like Bobby Lee is not funny. You know who that is? He's like this, or like Joe Coy is like the most unfunny. He's like this half Asian 50-year-old comic, and he's always doing this like Asian accent. But it's not funny to do an accent of the race that you are. Why is that funny? You're just like, it's funny to just do a list of accents, like actually break the rules, actually do something daring. But all these comedians today, they just talk about cancel culture and, what happened to comedy? Nobody's letting us be comedians anymore. You don't even want to be comedians. You want to be branded. You want brand deals. You want to be sponsored. You want to be monetized. These people don't care about actually pushing boundaries. So I don't know if that answered your question.
No, yeah, you're good. Speaking of that, do you think that the comedian scene has changed ever since everyone, like not everyone, but there's a lot of comedians who are afraid to say something to offend people. But personally, me, I think I don't know, I don't understand it because a joke is a joke. Like so many people get so offended over jokes, and I wish that comedians would push against it, and even creators would start pushing back against the cancel culture and like get back to a place where not everyone would be trending in headline over a joke. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you think that's affected comedy as a whole at all?
I mean, yeah, it's a combination of things. It's a combination of like opportunities being taken away from comedians when they get in that type of trouble, but also that they don't actually stand by that type of content. Like most comedians, I think if they basically try to like negotiate with the world and say, look, it's okay that I'm being offensive because it starts a conversation. Like, they're trying to act like they're a part of the solution, but like they shouldn't even argue. Like just be like the only answer when people are offended, just be like, no, it's fine. It's okay. Like it's not for everyone, but no, don't take it that way. Like just change the subject. As soon as you start arguing with people, you can't convince somebody to find something funny, So like before the internet, like edgy people hung out with edgy people and, vanilla people hung out with vanilla people and And so these types of like offensive jokes, they just wouldn't reach people that weren't interested in them. There was a sort of like osmosis curated content that was happening by default. But the internet, in a weird way, also curates things so that you see stuff you're interested in, but also you suddenly are able to see what everyone else is into, what they're doing. And now everyone's talking about everything. So oddly enough, the internet was supposed to give everybody a platform for their own type of content, but it also ended up getting everybody in trouble. When it comes to comedians, like I said, they don't really stand by that type of content, so they just end up changing it over time. And it's a combination of them wanting a career and also not really standing by edgy content that much, and also just not being that interesting thinkers. They don't really have anything that remarkable to say, in my opinion.
Is there any comedians right now that you really like and you watch?
I watch a podcast called Red Bar, where he like basically sits around and, among other things, like roasts other comedians. So he's like affected my philosophy, like how I see my place in society. Because I used to not be sure, like, what, am I a comedian? Am I a rapper? Am I a YouTuber? Like, am I part of the comedy circle community? But like, he sort of presents this philosophy that says like, no, like, you want to be edgy, just stay in your lane. And that's kind of how I think of myself now. And you could sort of see it in this interview, like some of the philosophizing I'm doing about these things.
Oh yeah. And then so with your music, I know you make cover music. How do you profit off of because I don't know how it works. How do you profit off of a cover? Like, do the actual people who made the song, have they ever tried to come at you for it? Because I know one of your songs, I think at least, was on the iTunes chart. So do they ever notice and try to come at you for anything like that because you use the beat, or how does that all work?
Well, with covers, you can release them legally and then they get a cut and you get a cut of the profits. I don't know the exact split, but when it comes to parodies, because it's clearly
Parodies, yeah.
a parody, it's clearly for a different purpose than the original song. It's not meant to replace that. You're not taking their song and pretending it's yours. You're changing it noticeably in a very noticeable way. So the law protects it, and you're able to use it for profit or for anything else. Now, there have been times, like on YouTube especially, because the copyright claiming system is so frivolous that like Chris Brown's record label can say this violates my client's song or something. So, you can then decide if you want to challenge it and basically go to war with these gargantuan entities, or just sort of count your losses and move on. So, but I think the law, at the end of the day, the law is on the side of parody artists. But it is possible to get into conflict. Like Taylor Swift, you do a Taylor Swift parody, like they're not having it because they're so protective over her image that like Shane Dawson back in the day, Bart Baker, all these people got into like they got their videos deleted at one point or another for that type of thing.
Didn't you make a song off of Bieber back in like 2009, and then it got taken down? Then you made another song about him. Was that?
It was a song not about Bieber. It was about this guy I know named Justin. And it was, some people thought it was about Bieber, but the song it was a parody of was by a guy named B.O.B.
Oh, I know who that. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then so has there ever been, like, when you're making these parodies, do you notice that certain ones get more views than others, and so you capitalize on that? Like, let's say, I'm just throwing out a name. You made a diss track on KSI, right? So that got views. So you're like, okay, well, obviously I should try to make another one. Is there any people that stick out to mind that you capitalized on because you knew that did well?
I mean, the sort of ongoing question as a creative is like, do you want to just keep doing what works, or do you want to really follow your inspiration? So like with Justin's Beaver, it blew up and it got deleted like overnight by YouTube, but it blew up, and like it was, people were re-uploading it and it was getting views, and it was just the hottest comedy song on the internet for a while. So at that time, the person I was at, in 2011, I was like, oh, let's do part 2. And, I can't disagree with that decision. I could just say today I probably would not have done that. I would have just said, it's good, leave it alone. I ended up doing also even like part 3, Justin's Beaver, the movie. It just kind of hammered into the ground. Again, I can't disagree with that. It was the decision I made at that time. I just know today, likely, in all likelihood, I would just be happy that it blew up and just not try to repeat it over again. So like, yeah, like I could have done Ebola. Like Ebola is like the biggest video. I could have done like the following month or a year later, I could have just done another Ebola themed song, but it wouldn't have been the same. What I ended up doing was Corona, like remix, when Corona broke out. So that felt right, and thousands of people were requesting it. People were contacting me saying, "Can you please remix Ebola and call it Corona?" I was like, "Okay, yeah, now is the time to do that." But if I had tried to like force that formula in 2014, 15, it wouldn't have been the same. It just wouldn't have really worked. And so generally, go with your inspiration. Don't just try to force what worked the last time, is what I say.
And for other artists who are trying to come up, what would your advice be for them to really get their foot down and be successful at it?
I can't really tell you how to be successful at it. I could just tell you, like, what's your passion? I can ask you, what's your passion, and then do that. So, I was into sort of creative writing and sort of lampooning stuff all through my childhood and everything. Whenever I got an English assignment, creative writing type thing, I would take it seriously. And I would do it, and I would sort of lampoon classmates and teachers and stuff, and not necessarily in an assignment that I handed in, but I was like, that's how my mind always was. And people like Eminem he was doing that with celebrities. He introduced himself to the world saying, "Hi kids, do you like violence? Want to see me stick 9-inch nails through each one of my eyelids?" Like he was making fun of the 90s. Like he was making fun of the this dark, mutilated sort of image that was being sold by all these rockers and stuff like that. It was really clever. The more time passes, the more I respect that whole approach. And that's kind of, what I've always done. So the fact that it's now on YouTube and got a bunch of views is sort of incidental. You got to be the person. And so, be somebody. You could be somebody. I'm somebody. I think Jesse Jackson said that.
Yeah, and then my final question too is what is going to be the future for you? You said you have a bunch of songs coming. What else are you doing this year at all?
More of that, I think. I'm always sort of working on multiple stuff. Like I got a small gaming channel, Rucka Gaming, where I'm trying to get on there every day. Like every morning I just do 20-30 minutes of playing games. Now I only really play retro side-scrolling games. I never progressed past like Super Nintendo, so I'm sort of stunted in place. I'm like a video game midget, I can't go on the big rides, So there's that. But I'm like, that's something I'm doing. I'm into like talking philosophy, talking a little bit of politics as it relates to philosophy and self-improvement, like all types of stuff that I kind of like doing on the side, but the more I do dabble in other things, the more I'm sort of reminded repeatedly that what I'm good at and what it is that the fans are longing for is sort of the thing I should be doing most, and that's a great thing to have going for me.
Oh, speaking of that, just a random question. Have you ever, because I know I've been there through my YouTube career, have you ever been to a point where you were stuck and you would look back at your past and you would reflect on the past, and it might mentally get to you to think that you wish that you could get back to that creative spot? Have you ever had a moment like that in your career?
Yeah, I mean, around the time that I blew up, I was also getting into like smoking marijuana, if I can say that on the internet, which was really bad for creativity. And then quitting it is like brings a whole new world of challenges. So for like a couple years, I was really, really working on just staying clean and sober and like really trying to get my creativity going. And so like, okay, let's say like I said, early 2010 was sort of like this golden era. And 2011, you said Only 17 and Justin's Beaver, that's all like 2011. So then, we're looking at like 2012 and I'm like, am I ever going to have anything that big again? I'm thinking like, was that it? Are my biggest days behind me? And I was basically really trying to solve like, okay, where did that creativity come from? I know I had to work like some minimum wage jobs back then. Should I go back and get a job? Should I go deliver pizza and just see if ideas hit me? It's really hard to sort of capture creativity, but basically work on yourself, be well-rounded, and always be working, always be writing. And over time, you'll see that creativity gets better and easier, and more kind of flows more naturally. So, like paradoxically, you can't force it. So don't try, but also do it and kind of work on yourself. It's kind of like a restaurant, at a restaurant, most restaurants, they're busy for like 3 hours a day. And then the rest of the time they're preparing and cleaning up. So like it's all about those 3 hours. So like when you actually have a creative idea, that's like busy hour at the restaurant, like, but the rest of the time you are keeping yourself healthy. You're working out. You're working on other stuff. You're cleaning your environment. You're traveling. You're talking to people. You're doing all types of stuff that kind of keep you the functioning creative enterprise. You know what I'm saying?
Did you end up going back to a job, or what did you do to keep that creative?
No, I never went back to get a job, but I think exercising definitely helped get the creativity going on a regular basis. But also, the creativity never really went away. It's just you just kind of have to, So I've been off of weed and I haven't had a drink, 9.5 years. So like that's become a very big part of my life. The ongoing challenge of staying sober and kind of doing everything that requires, sort of. In a way, like not drinking or doing drugs is like also busy hour at the restaurant. Like you're working all the time on making yourself strong and comfortable so that when someone does hand you a drink, you're able to say no. Like that's like busy hour. So in a weird way, that's also the ongoing process of self-maintenance. So I think sobriety definitely has led to a certain type of flourishing that brings about creativity that could not be forced and would not be there if I was complacent and getting high and stuff like that. So I think definitely staying sober has done that. I moved from Detroit to Los Angeles. That's like another thing. So kind of like taking on new challenges, going places, meeting people, just even sometimes just getting invited to a party where you don't really know anybody, but you just go and just doing stuff, leaving your comfort zone on a regular basis. As much as it feels comfortable for some of us to just fucking stay home, dude.
Yeah.
but don't do that. So.
Yeah. Hey, man, thank you so much for doing this interview with me, too, by the way. And
yeah.
That all your social medias, too, for them to follow you?
It's I Am Rucka on, I think, everything. And It's Rucka on YouTube. If the channel is still there by the time you see this, who knows? It's hard to tell these days with cancel culture and all of that. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I heard you told me you interviewed Logan Paul's mom. That must have been an interesting discussion.
It'll be actually on Wednesday, so that I don't know. Yeah, we'll see how that one goes. It will be really fun though. So